Welcome to Sane-ish, the podcast for people healing from trauma, addiction, abuse, mental health struggles, grief, narcissists, and every other flavor of chaos life can throw at you. And somehow still functioning, mostly. I'm your host, Holley Broughton, survivor, truth teller, boundary setter, and proud member of the Still Healing, Still Hilarious Club. Around here, we don't do shame or embarrassment. We don't do perfection. Just real talk, dark humor, hard truths, and a whole lot of hope. Because sanity is overrated. And healing, that shit is messy. This is Sane-ish. Let's get into it. Disclaimer. On the Sane-ish podcast, we discuss personal stories of alcoholism, addiction, mental health, chronic illness, narcissistic abuse, domestic violence, SA, HT, parental alienation, grief, loss, homelessness, as well as many other forms of adversities in life. Our intention is to be inspirational, educational, identifiable, and resourceful. The views and experiences shared are in no way meant to praise or condone any illegal or harmful behavior. This content is for educational purposes only and not intended as professional advice. If you or someone you know is struggling with any of the above, we strongly suggest seeking help from a qualified professional, support service, or hotline related to your specific issue. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Sane-ish podcast. Holley Broughton here, and today I am back with my faithful sidekick. It's too bad, you guys, we don't have like
a blooper reel. Yeah, we could use one.
Exactly. I was going to say that. It's too bad we don't have bloopers, which maybe we will soon at some point, but we don't have bloopers because you should have seen us trying to you should have seen me trying to get ready for this podcast. But anyway, yes, I have my trusty sidekick, Canadian sidekick, Natalie Forchuk here with me from Canada. Happy Valentine's Day, Natalie.
Happy Valentine's Day to you.
All the way from Texas. And happy Valentine's Day to all of our viewers, too. We have a special podcast today. Today, we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about decision fatigue. And if you're not familiar with what decision fatigue is, it's not, it's not like going to the grocery store and trying to choose which cheese you're going to buy. If you're going to buy cow's milk or almond milk or something like that, it's basically decisions you have to choose or the decisions that come at you one right after the other when you're in high conflict divorce or high conflict custody battles, which can seem like it's just like an automatic rifle. Tommy gun. Like it just never stops. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And then, it's like you get up in the morning and you're tired already because you can't even, your brain, you haven't even brushed your teeth yet and your brain is just already tired. So that's what decision fatigue is. So that's what we're going to talk about. And then we're also because today is Valentine's Day, we're also going to talk about self-care. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Natalie and let her go ahead and start to talk about decision fatigue, and then we'll kind of bounce off of each other like we usually do. But yeah, so Go ahead, Natalie.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, decision fatigue. It's something that we don't talk about enough in our high conflict cases. And like Holly said, it's not about, whether it's the brie or the camembert, and it's not about whether it's the almond milk or the cow's milk, and it's not even, although many of us would insist that this brings us decision fatigue, what to have for dinner. Although that's like a little mini tiny decision fatigue. Where decision fatigue becomes really hard on alienated parents and high conflict parents when you are involved, whether you're involved in court or not, there's a weight to everything that we decide, and we're making decisions without the full data, so to speak, right? Because we're working with situations where we're trying to make the best decision we can to mitigate, to protect our children, to do the right thing financially, to hire the right lawyer, to on and on. I'm just like touching on it. I'm touching on it already. My brain is like, Natalie, you already lived this. We don't have to talk about it again. Yet here we are. Because automatically I'm like, oh, my body's already starting to feel it somatically. Oh yeah, those are hard times when you're in that case. And because everything is so weighted, we tend to not want to make the decision because we're trying to navigate, what does it mean? What doesn't it mean? Like nothing is straightforward. And people on the outside of this will say, well, just make a decision. Like, how hard can it be? You have a choice or choices, make one and see what happens. And that's awesome if you're, again, trying to choose a new kind of milk and whether you like it or not. Sure, the risk is minimal. When we're in high conflict, we don't get the luxury of just, shooting for the moon and hoping that our decision is right. And that's where decision fatigue comes in because you're already in a way experiencing what a good or bad decision could be. So your body starts to anticipate. I've talked before about anticipatory grief. I would apply the same thing here in anticipatory decision making because in high conflict, you're playing it through. You're playing it forward. If I do this, I mean, I hope that you are, by the way. I'm going to qualify this. Maybe you're not. And the one thing I will say in high conflict is you actually do need to be doing this. We're talking today about how to manage it, not how to not do it, because it's integral to your case. It's just the way it is. But you're already anticipating what the other party is going to say. And I get this a lot when I'm working with parents. I'll suggest something to them like, well, he or she will never go for that. Or he or she will do this. Like they've already got the answers, except they haven't asked the question yet. And the answer might not be what they think it's going to be. So if you're listening, they should be like, if you're in it, you're going to understand. If you're not in it, you'll be like, well, Natalie, that just sounds like crazy talk. And yeah, listen, yes, yes. My brain can just go bonkers or freeze, right? So your rapidly cycling brain at some point is going to say enough and you'll get into a freeze state, which is a procrastination state. And you may even get into freeze and the peas, which is you start making decisions based on what you think the best outcome is going to be, what the other party wants to hear, rather than making the best decision for the situation, the conflict. And it doesn't matter the size of the conflict, by the way. It can be very simple or it could be big. But every decision in alienation and high conflict has weight, not only on its own, every decision, but then cumulative weight as well. We build this like Jenga tower. Anyone ever played Jenga? If not, go look it up. Bunch of blocks, you build a tower, and the idea is that you start to take things from the foundation, the base, and keep that tower, and you pile these foundational things on top and keep the tower going. Well, what eventually happens? The tower collapses. Because it's not possible to continuously take away foundational things and throw them back in the mix and then destroy your foundation. But that's all those blocks are the decisions we have to make every single day while keeping the totality and wholeness of the structure, which is our piece, which is our co-parenting, our parallel parenting. Does that make sense, Holly? Am I talking in too many metaphors? I've been known to do that, so we can say I am.
Yeah, it does. And at least in my experience, when you sometimes it gets to the point where things are happening so quickly that even little decisions get to be heavy. And then you start second guessing yourself, even on little things. And you're like, because then everything seems big.
And
You know what I mean? Like everything,
100%. 100%.
everything seems like over dramatized. Not that you're making them over dramatized, but it seems like it's bigger than what it is just because of the situation and everything's heavy. And then it just makes things hard. It makes simple decisions harder.
100%. If I can give an example, this is something that should be very simple. I'm going to give this example with our kids. And I've seen it time and time again become very weighted and very complicated due to decision fatigue. So buying your children shoes. This is you do it as a parent. Most of the time, you're just complaining about the fact, I can't believe they grew again. I got to buy more shoes again. Are you kidding me? And here
Mhm.
we go. It's so expensive. Usually, that's what a normal parent out there is complaining about. A high conflict situation, alienation situation, you literally will start to second guess your child's shoe size.
Mm.
You will start to second guess, and I mean, you can go to there and like get them to, the special measuring thingy, right? Get someone to do it. They say they're size 8.5. They, whether your child even tries on the shoes or not, there's like this is not complicated, but decision fatigue makes it complicated because you no longer have permission to make decisions anymore, if that makes any sense. Conflict actually prevents parents from parenting. It's a very interesting dynamic because you're supposed to be co-parenting and working together, but high conflict develops a situation where things like buying shoes becomes adversarial. And so
Mm.
you might be seeing their shoes, looking at shoes like, is it size 8? Maybe it's an 8.5. Maybe it's too wide. Oh, maybe it shouldn't be this color. What if the other party thinks it's too bright? What if, like, your brain will just start to spin. And
Mm.
before you know it, standing in that shoe store or TJ Maxx or Canada would like and the shoes that you probably would have before all of this, your child says, "I want these blue shoes," or "I want these black shoes," and you found them, and they're like, "We'll buy them, and if they don't work, we'll return them." Decision made. Suddenly, you are standing frozen in the middle of a store, almost in tears. I'm speaking from very personal experience, trying to make a myriad of decisions that actually don't really matter because they're just shoes. So if you can think that, it's like this example, and you're listening to it, like, well, okay, so shoes, all right, I kind of get it. Imagine that paradigm, everything that I just described, and that's somatic, like I'm ready to cry. I'm starting to be short of breath. My brain is spinning. I'm getting a headache. I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. I'm frozen. Imagine if I'm that much energy and decision fatigue goes into buying a pair of shoes. Imagine the decision fatigue that goes into making a court based decision or a custody decision or a school decision.
Mhm.
So, decision fatigue like that, it's so huge, and then, like I said, you can go get into freeze and appease. It's not just being frozen, then you're gonna try and appease the other party just to make this decision stuff go away. And what
Right.
happens is you end up sick, and it can be physical illness, like, immediate, it can be long-term effects. I know a lot of parents, I know myself, have experienced long-term health effects because of high conflict and alienation. My decision making actually has never gone back to normal. It is still like I have to watch myself about how much weight I put on every single decision I make. It's automatic for me now that I make a big deal out of everything. Like I can find myself frozen in a store trying to choose a tea for work. Lemon, honey lemon, ginger. Like, and I'll just go in this free state. I won't even realize that 5 minutes have passed. I'm just standing there staring at some tea.
Yeah. I've
And
done
then,
this.
yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
Holly.
I've done the same thing. And it's only because I had a third party and a narcissist,
Yeah, me too.
which were just hammering me and gaslighting me.
Oh yeah, of course.
You start, you start questioning yourself, and then you start questioning your decisions. And, I mean, there were times that we went to court, and there were most of the time I, s- the, d- I didn't understand a lot of the judges, how the judge came up with their decisions.
Yeah,
They
that's a
didn't make
we'll do
sense.
another podcast on that another day. That's a great topic to talk about.
Yeah.
Understanding visual content, absolutely. Yeah,
And there was a lot of things that happened I that didn't make sense. Like, anyway. So, I mean, it's like sometimes when you go home, you still feel like you're in a courtroom when you're not,
oh,
and you
yeah,
still feel like you're being judged when you're there by yourself, if that makes sense.
yeah. Well,
Even
everything becomes a risk. Yeah, mhm,
you still feel like you're being persecuted even when you're at your own home with whatever decisions that you make. And so you're second guessing yourself in your own head about the decisions you're making. And at then you get to a point where you just don't want to make a decision at all, and that's not good
yeah.
either.
Well, no.
You know
Well,
what I
no.
mean?
Right, because there are times where you have to make decisions,
Right.
right? Like in life, there's
Right.
times where you gotta make a decision to the light is yellow. Are you gonna go through or are you gonna stop? That literally can free if you are in this high conflict decision fatigue state, that alone can paralyze you. And I've had it happen where I've been driving to make, what normal, we don't think about decisions, right? Like, because we're used
Uh,
to driving, we know we're going to stop, we're going to risk it. We don't even, it's not conscious thought.
Yeah.
And I've had like time seem to stop where I'm like, I think I should stop because I shouldn't drive through. But like, I'm trying to have this debate in a split second decision where I don't have time to make that decision.
Right.
Driving, and when I'm in that state, I actually choose not to drive. I'm very
Yeah.
mindful of it now because of it's probably the worst distracted driving you could have.
Oh, yeah.
But that again, that decision fatigue concept where you can't make baseline decisions, that's troubling because then you start to feel that you really can't do anything right. So this is a phrase that will come up, right? It's not that I can't do anything or that I'm frozen because of all of these decisions. Suddenly, and again, this is personal experience, my kitchen not being cleaned for 5 days because I can't do it. I can barely get out of bed and brush my teeth and show up somewhere sometimes. But my narrative won't be like, "Hey, Natalie, you're in it, man. Like, you need to go gentle on yourself. The kitchen will wait. Like, no big deal." It will come to, I can't do anything right. And when you're being hammered by the other side who is telling you you can't do anything right, then you're kind of like what Holly's talking about is that self gaslighting. Like, I do a great job for my ex of gaslighting myself, even when he's not around. I do a great job for myself. Like, it's crazy. I don't mean, like, I don't like using the word crazy, but it's so huge and so prevalent that it's remarkable that that happens. But, then if you start, now I can't take care of my home, right? So then it will spiral to that. And then it'll go back to if I have, oh my God, what if CYS, CAS, whatever agencies you have in your states, provinces, or countries, what if they see what a mess this is? And then panic kicks in. But panic isn't enough to overcome that decision fatigue and that freeze state. And then you're
Mm.
really in it. I know I'm just saying like all these things. I hope like everyone who's out there take a deep breath. I know I'm describing something that for anybody watching or listening, this could be agitating for them. So I want you to make sure if you're listening to this and you're like, turn it off for a minute, turn it off, take some deep breaths, go for a walk. You don't have to stay in this space. We're here to talk about this stuff, hopefully to bring light to it, to support people in it, to acknowledge it, and get some words out about it. Or this is a form of abuse in and of itself.
Well, I also want to bring up the fact that high conflict, it drains you faster than anything. And high conflict situations don't just require decisions. They require decisions like under pressure, decisions under fear, decisions under manipulation, decisions. And that's whether you've been in, if you've dealt with a narcissist or a high conflict personality or a like we've talked about, high conflict divorce or custody. Sometimes they do it to create confusion. Sometimes they do it to create chaos or urgency or anxiety
Mhm.
or emotional whiplash or so it isn't just stress.
No,
It's strategic is what it is.
yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah,
So, and in my case, and this is just for me, I can only speak from my experience, but what happened, and I have heard, but there was a long time when I was in a fight or flight mode, and then I was in a freeze mode
yeah,
where I was afraid to do anything because
yeah,
I was afraid that if I were to do anything or make any decision, that I was going to go one place or another. There were only two options if I made any decision. And so I didn't go anywhere. So, but that's a trauma response. That's trauma. And I had to work through that.
yeah.
And so now I'm much better at that. And I'm much better at making decisions. But, once you understand those things, you know, um, and give yourself some grace. I think it's hard, especially when you're in a court battle too. That's not easy.
No, of course it's not. It's not somewhere where we ever thought we would be. I often ad nauseum use the example of our best court experience is watching A Few Good Men. No one ever
Mm.
expected to be in that situation. No one, just because you're a parent. Of course not. There's cognitive dissonance there. Like there's always going to be a disbelief when you are in the situation. If you're in a courtroom, it's like there is a disbelief still, not an acceptance. It's wow, how did I get here? What am I doing here? Oh my God, what is this?
Mhm.
Uh, right? Like nobody was built for this. Nobody was equipped as a human being to say, you became a parent, here's what your parenting looks like, and here's what you're up against. Whereas humans were not built to deal with all of this stress and cognitive dissonance and physical symptoms all at once. Something's got to give, so to speak. And that's where the freeze comes in because your body is just like, enough. You can't make any decisions. We're not making any decisions.
Mm.
That's it. We're making none. We are not putting ourselves in any sort of place where we can have to make a decision like going to the corner store. I'm talking about really simple stuff. Taking a shower. There were times where I've sat for 8 to 10 hours on one corner of my couch, and I don't know if I ever got everyone to the washroom. I don't remember. I had a glass of water next to me. That was it. And I had TV on. Don't remember what I watched. That was all I could do. But one thing I want to point out when we're experiencing decision fatigue, and this is something I don't believe is said often enough, and that is even though the other side makes it feel urgent, not everything is urgent. Not everything actually needs to have a decision made when somebody demands it of you. And understanding that, we can start to kind of work with that concept of start to gain some evaluation tools that we can apply to. Is this one category 1, 2, or 3, or A, B, C? We triage it. Is it life or death? Is it like a broken arm? Or is it a bump on the knee and everything's going to be fine? Right? You just have a triage system. You can start to manage your responses a little bit better because you take some of the sting away, the weight away, when you can identify that just because they say it's urgent, it's not.
Well,
Urgent,
can I interrupt you there for just
like, no, it's your podcast. I guess you can. This
well,
time,
no, it's our podcast tonight.
you may speak, Holly. You may speak.
Thank you, Your Majesty. Okay, so I just wanted to mention that high conflict people or narcissists or whatever, they will when they're being strategic, a lot of times they'll send long, overwhelming messages.
Oh,
They'll demand immediate answers. They'll create last minute changes. They'll pretend they don't understand. They will accuse you of things that you didn't do. They will twist your words. They will set traps. And then they'll act like you're the problem for being exhausted.
oh, yeah, so why are you so tired? Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
I felt like I needed to just like kind of put that in there because that's kind of some of their strategies is to
Yeah,
not only make you anxious, but to wear you down, is to just either text bomb you, with nasty text messages, threatening text messages, demand that you tell them something now. And you don't have to. Like, nobody,
that's true.
you, you don't have to do that. So, and usually that's a lot of times that's their own fear. That's part of the projection of shame that we referred to in our narcissist
For
episode.
sure, for sure.
So okay, I'm done. I just wanted to kind of toss that in there because
And you're absolutely right.
it's
Whether
emotional warfare.
emotional warfare, yeah, very good phrase for it. Absolutely. Those are all very important qualifiers to understand when I say that you don't have not everything that they say is urgent, right? Because those are all techniques. Now, whether it is your ex or it's a lawyer doing it, certainly when it's a lawyer doing it and you receive demand letters and they are called demand letters and they're very harshly written, of course you spiral into panic, right? Of course you do. That makes sense. But you don't have to stay there. That can be a response, like it is a response, your activated trauma response, and then have tools to bring yourself back out of it and look at it as objectively as possible. We'll talk about this kind of the self-care part of today. But every communication in high conflict is not meant to help you. That's it. I don't always say that somebody means to harm you per se, but they certainly aren't out there to help you.
Mhm.
That's where you need to get this. I just had somebody clothing is a very big thing going back and forth between homes that are high conflict. This one child wanted the coat that was at one parent's house, even though they were at the other parent's house, and those coats stay separate. And instead of, this one parent say, well, so and so, honey, you got your coat here. And then when you go over to this other parent's, you can wear that coat there. And that's, boundaries, setting up the way it is. Is it great? No, but it's the way it is. Instead, this parent just started to bombard the other parent with, why won't you let her? Why can't you drop it off? You never, like, it just turned into this massive thing that was just wearing this parent down that I was working with. Like, just what do I do? And what he's ready to do is give the jacket over to this parent who has been known to withhold things like jackets in the middle of winter to come back
Huh?
as a form of control. And he's spiraling about it. He's like, what do I do? Right? Like, what do you do? Holly, what would you do in that case? I'm curious if you have an opinion. I can say what the best course of action is, but I'm always curious to hear what you have to say.
I've had this. I've experienced it, and it for me it has backfired. I've tried to be nice about it and say, "Could you please send her clothes back?" And it just
Yeah.
ended up getting nasty where, they would be like they would do the same thing. "Could you please send" it was one of those things, and just, like, unnecessary stuff, I'm like, "Could you guys just be adults?"
Mm,
Like, I don't understand why this is going on. I mean, this is a kid. Like, I'm just trying to be her mother. Could you please just be adults about this stuff?
no, everything gets weaponized.
But
Clothing, like I said, clothing. This is a big action, big one. It gets weaponized, and it can lead again to decision fatigue because the other parent is like, now the next time they're with me, should I let them have this? Should I not let them have this? Should I go back and forth? Should I not go back and forth? Do I set a boundary? Do I just give in? Do I drive it over there? It can just go on and on in a hot hurry.
I know, and then,
Mm.
what happens is, at least in my case, you then avoid sending anything because you're
Right.
like, "Okay, I don't wanna deal with this." Well, then, all of a sudden, you're not
Not parenting
being
effectively. Yeah.
then all of a sudden, you're not, you know, being willing to whatever.
Yeah.
You're not co-parenting or who knows, but whatever they wanna
Yeah. Say
and
about
and
it.
all you're doing is just trying to avoid any kind of conflict,
Yeah.
really, you know, because they're gonna make out whatever they're gonna stir up whatever they're gonna stir up, you know what I mean? And,
Absolutely.
so it's just that's another thing. It's like, it's you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, and it's like so, you know I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. In my case, it didn't matter what I did, it was just gonna be wrong.
Yeah, and that's the case for I mean, high conflict, that is the case, right? In some way, you're always going to be doing something wrong, so to speak. Even if it was right last week, it could be wrong this week.
Exactly,
Right? So
exactly.
one of the things, and I look back on my journey, I wish someone had told me this sooner, or um, I don't know if I had the strength for this, or if I knew this at the time. And with parents I work with, what I say is you can't avoid the conflict, so don't. Be a participant. Now, that doesn't mean be a participant tit for tat, by the way. That's not what it means. It doesn't mean they do this and you're going to do this and we're going to make it even hotter and heavier and like see who wins. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is try to step out of that freeze and appease. You are allowed to have a voice. You are allowed to have boundaries. So being nice, being capitulating, these are all things I did, by the way, a lot, won't get you any better rating than if you set a boundary and stuck to your boundary. You're going to get the conflict either way. So by setting a boundary and kind of walking beside conflict, as uncomfortable as it is, but you take a little bit of control, that also helps you with that decision fatigue. You set
Mm,
boundaries that you understand, like, let's say it's around the clothes. it's work that you have to do. Like, nobody can really tell you what to do in this case. You have to know what you want to do, like what I'm willing to do and what I'm not willing to do. I'm willing to allow, let's use this jacket. I am willing to allow this child to wear this jacket when they are with me and on the way home so they don't get cold, and then they can give it to me when I drop them off at the other parents. And then I'll bring it back with me, right? You have to
Mhm,
have like a plan and a mechanism to recover the jacket, so to speak,
mhm.
right? But you have to know that you're going to be okay doing that, or that's your boundary versus, "I don't know what to do. Oh my god, she wants this jacket, and blah, blah, blah." That's not gonna help you, and these text messages, I'm using an example, you're just gonna get bombarded. If you have
Mhm.
the same party line, if you have a boundary around this thing, and we're using this jacket against this example. Let's say this person texts you and says, "Well, so and so really wants it. I appreciate that. This is the boundary and the process that I'm using to ensure that she has a jacket at both our homes." That's it. That's all you have to say. And you can repeat that again. We have to engage in the escalation. Go ahead, Holly.
Well, here's an example of what would happen to me. Here's if any parents are out there, here's maybe if this is happening to you, maybe here's a solution. But what would happen to me is my daughter would go over to their house and, she would have clothes and underwear and, they would say, "Oh, well, her underwear is too small.
Oh, yes, classic.
Her
Classic.
underwear is too small." And I would say, "Okay, well, could you please send it back with her?" And, "Well, it's too small." And I'd say, "Well, then maybe she needs to wear the ones that you have at your house."
Yeah, I see where this is going. Yep. Yeah, I know. Calling the bluff.
So, I mean, but 2, that was also a form of them gaslighting me too. But, it was c it was constant like that, and it was ha I wanna make it very clear, it was very hard to keep up with that. That was for me, it was on a daily basis like that. It was all the time, and it was draining. So, um, it wasn't easy for me to come up with answers like that because it
Mhm.
is draining.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is draining. What I'm saying is by no means a quote unquote simple answer. I may be sounding like I'm simplifying it because I'm simplifying the process. But
Yes.
in actuality, to do that, this is where when I get the chance to work with high conflict parents way back, like when they're just starting to be high conflict, we can set up these kind of boundaries because they still have capacity to do that. Like they still have enough in them to hopefully try and look at it objectively. Yes, when you're in the middle of it, I'll say the way I managed it, if a complaint like that was made, I fixed it, quote unquote. And I ended up being the one to buy the majority or all of my kids everything, underwear, socks, shoes, everything, because for some reason that worked. And that's what he wanted, actually, is he wanted me to just take care of it. So, if he complained enough, I would just do more. I was still a wife while being penalized for being a wife and a mother. So it can look different, but that was my coping mechanism. I didn't have it in me to constantly fight that fight with him or them. Same for me.
Well, but that brings up a good point too, because where that's also where your body starts scanning for trauma.
Mhm.
Your brain starts scanning for danger, and you constantly start looking for what could go wrong. Okay,
Always.
is he gonna blow up? Is he gonna have an explosion right now? Like, okay, what's gonna happen next? Is he gonna so you're in safety mode. Like, so your brain starts looking for decisions for safety
Correct.
sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. You become hyper vigilant,
Right.
right? And hypervigilance tends to follow you in places where safety never needed to matter before. And this jacket is a great example, right? Like there's lots of families out there that have split homes that figure out the winter jacket thing when they live in a cold climate. The function
Mhm.
of living there, the function of two homes, you figure it out. Is it annoying at times? Probably. Probably is annoying at times. But that's okay. You figure it out. They're not sitting there having the conversation that we're having or that
Mhm.
I had with this parent to try and figure out the best way for us to calm down the other side with their escalating diatribes that over something very simple and over nothing that we were doing other than asking a question generally.
Right.
So, but you live in hypervigilance because, I've said it before, family courts is not about truth. And that's where in family law we can get really hypervigilant because whoever has the best narrative and says it the best or the loudest can often be the person that wins. So it's not about, this case would not be if you listen to the two sides. One is like, I was trying to figure out getting this jacket back and forth. I understand that, the child would like the jacket, but, two homes, it's just the way it is. It's just a function of two homes. Then you've got the other side saying that this person's abusing their child because they will refuse to give them a or the winter jacket, period, making it sound like this parent is trying to make this child freeze, which is not the case at all. But that's what would get heard in court. So when you're trying to like be hyper vigilant and trying to prevent that, that's where you start to spin out of like, how do I handle this so that lie doesn't become the truth, so to speak. And that's a very difficult place to be in. And can you do it for everything? No. Some things are going to go. If you're already in this phase in the high conflict, then you probably already experienced this anyhow, whether it be just in text messages, in family, or in some aspect of the law. So that can feel dangerous, right?
Mm.
Or we're going to interpret that as danger because danger is court. You got a judge there who's going to start making decisions. That's a problem. Like that's a problem, right? And so we're trying to mentally, gymnastically try to not let it happen. Go there so we don't lose our kids. This is the bottom line.
Mhm.
We're threatened with losing our kids. Our kids are being alienated from us. We are losing our kids. And we're on that slippery slope of trying to ensure that we don't lose them.
Mhm.
And then again, that spin out, like a car spinning out in the snow. Lots of ice metaphors today. Snow metaphors. I'm Canadian, so it counts. That's why. That can lead to the freeze, right? That can lead to the freeze and then the appease. Where you don't do what even your hypervigilance is telling you to do, you actually just try to get the pain to stop. And
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
plus your nervous system doesn't know how to shut off either.
Oh, yeah, if we want to talk somatically, yeah, the somatic aspect of this is a
Yeah,
whole thing.
yeah. So that's kind of why people like when I tell people who haven't been alienated, who aren't in the alienation arena, and they say, "Oh, well, you just need to let it go," or "You need
Oh,
to, well, you need to let it go," or "You just need to move on." I'm like,
mm,
that no, that doesn't help.
that's
You have no idea. That doesn't
some of the
help.
things are there. Yes.
It really doesn't. You have no idea what's going on.
Those words, those are just, they are shrapnel. They are poison arrows to the soul.
I'm like, dude, I've got some my nervous system is so screwed up, you have no idea. I
No.
I hey, I'm doing good on the trauma part, but my body, on the other hand, is screwed up.
Well, your body gets rewired, right? We know this somatically. So somatic means the body, the actual body. We know our nervous systems are designed to keep us safe, right? That's where fight or flight comes in, right? Like
Right.
it's made to give you adrenaline to literally run away from a threat. But it's
Yeah.
supposed to be a last resort kind of thing, not a constant state of being. And then physiologically, somatically, your neurons will rewire to make fight or flight your normal. And then suddenly that's where you live. And the wear and tear on your body, living in a high adrenaline state. I mean, you can't sleep, we can't eat, you're craving foods you shouldn't be eating, you may be using maladaptive coping mechanisms just to make it stop. That's what people don't understand about this. So decision fatigue doesn't just affect the brain, conscious and subconscious. It affects the body deeply. And I can tell you, my body's reacting before my conscious brain catches up when something
Right.
is happening.
Yeah, me
And I
too.
now have enough therapy, a very good therapist, to work through and understand these signals and where they're coming from and how to work with them. Or when it's not a threat, like I said, choosing which type of tea. This is not hard. If I pick one I don't like, I just don't drink it. Yet it can become a life or death fight or flight thing in a grocery store for me. And that's frustrating. I actually get mad at, I'm trying not to be mad at my body, and we're going to talk about self care. I'm mad at, because not saying be mad at your body. I'm mad that this is permanent for me,
Yeah.
that I don't have as many years ahead of me as I do behind me now. I don't and I'm getting older, I don't see that, well, will never be the same because of this experience. And my body, actually my mind, my heart, my soul, everything will not be the same. And that pisses me off. That
Mhm.
pisses me off. Sometimes I'll go to therapy. I'm like, I'm just pissed off about this. Like, why do I have to be here? I mean, I love therapy, don't get me wrong, but why do I have to be constantly rediscussing this stuff? This trauma, the effects, the fight or flight, the somatic, the decision fatigue, freeze and appease, because of one fucking person who's, or
Yep.
one, or in our case, two, right? We both have that in common. They destroyed my life. Like they really did a number on me. And there are some days and some moments where like I'm angry. I'm learning how to work with anger, but also some days I'm just sad about it. I'm just sad. It hurts. And then when your child is still alienated from you and you're doing all the other things, it's just like, why? Why keep fighting? And there's good reasons to keep fighting, right? But it's important to acknowledge then all this too, that this is really fucking hard. It's really fucking hard. And we hear you on that. I just want to acknowledge that for everybody that, I think we say this every episode at some point about how hard this is and not
Well,
to minimize how hard it is.
it's hard. I was just talking to somebody about this today. It, it's hard when, people come to you and say, "Hey, I think you need to communicate with your daughter." And then,
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
know, you're like, "Okay, yes, I'd like to." And then 2 days later, they're like, "We only have 2 hours." And then they have a life. And the
Yeah.
hidden message there is, "You don't matter."
Yeah.
That's the hidden message. But it's not said out loud because it's not gonna be said out loud, but they have a life is said
Yeah.
to say, "You don't matter." So, my point to that is, you know, it's all a show.
Hmm.
It's it's all a game to them.
Yeah. Control.
And so, okay, you don't wanna be in control? Okay, well, then let me talk to my daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really quite simple.
But then, okay, well, you only have 2 hours. Okay, well, that's not allowing me to talk to my daughter.
Yeah.
You just said you didn't wanna have control. So,
Well, they like, again,
it
they
makes
like to
no
say it
sense.
going through it. Yeah.
It never makes any sense.
No.
And that's people don't understand the mental gymnastics that you have to go through.
Yeah.
You have to, hey, after 5 years, you're absolutely excited, thrilled to talk to your child. But then at the same time, you're like, "Uh-oh,
Mhm.
where's this going?"
That's so true. Yeah, because there's risk there, right? That goes back to, our bodies understand that nothing comes without a cost in alienation and high cost. Nothing, nothing. And suddenly having access to your child is a double-edged sword. And I know anybody who does not been in this space, listen to me, I could just see the comments if this was on TikTok saying, just horrible things because nobody gets the fact that how much risk there is if the child comes back into your life not under their own steam, I would say. So this is not for necessarily, like an adult child or, when they turn majority, things like that. It's a baited trap. Like it just is a baited trap because none of these people, high conflict people, alienators, have a change of heart where they suddenly go, yeah, you know what? I wasn't doing the right thing. I really need to support my child in connecting with their mother or father. That's what I'm doing. They're doing it to look good to, I don't know who, whatever second party, third parties there are around. Maybe to the child as the child gets older and says, why can't, what's up with mom? What's up with dad? But it's never without a risk. People ask me, it's been 5 years. We're in 2026, so it'll be 5 years in May since I've had any contact with my son. And if he's listening to this right now, I hope he takes it by knowing me in the right spirit here. I've gotten used to not having him in my life. And that's given me some opportunity to bring down the hypervigilance and all the things. Now I'm still in court for stuff with our daughter, but that aspect is a little less weighted for me because there's no expectation around it right now because there's nothing happening. And I had a dream the other night that he showed up in my work after 5 years. Hadn't seen him. I felt myself hugging him, like, all the things, all the emotions, and I woke up from that and I was like, "Huh, I would love that," and then I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Mhm.
I wouldn't know how to accept that because my first instinct would be, "This is a trap." That and I'm saying this out loud because I don't like it, and that's why I wanna say it out loud.
Right.
'Cause I'm not the only person who's felt this way, like, I'm not that special in the world. So I I like to speak out these uncomfortable things that, like, I'm like, "Ick." Like, what kind of human am I? Like, and I went on for the morning, like, berating myself. What kind of mother am I? All I want is my son, and I feel this way about this dream and these feelings, but they're real feelings. They're valid.
Mhm.
They're valid because everything has come at a cost. Everything has been weighted, and it would take me time to get to know my son again, which logically makes sense after 5 years from the age of 15 to 20, that's a big spread,
Mhm.
but it would take me time to trust,
Yeah.
quite a long time to
Sure.
trust. Because why now? What's so special about now? What's coming around the corner? What's going down the pipe? What other shoe's gonna fall?
Sure.
You know, because 'cause I've been surprised before where I I was in a position where things were going so well, and I was re-alienated from my son.
Yeah.
And that experience just I carry that with me every single day
Yeah.
because it proved to me that I could do everything right. We could solve all the problems. We could do all the things. We could go back to co-parenting, calm, amazing, equal, and this shit can happen again.
Oh, yeah. I've been there.
Yeah.
That's why I pray that my daughter, finds her own truth, and, I have to wait for my daughter because, um, I can't trust him anymore, period. He's done so much damage. There's just no way. Eh,
Yeah, I'm with you. I get it.
I've been set up so many times,
Yeah.
but, I can't. I'm not gonna do it again, and there's been so many stories that are not true
Yeah.
about me, and I'm just not gonna do that anymore.
Yeah. And that's a conscious choice that you're making and one that I get. You know, what is the definition of insanity?
Yeah, I mean,
Right? Not that you're insane, but the definition of insanity is keep going back to the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result,
right,
right?
right,
Just for the audience, in case they haven't heard that phrase, it really is why would you keep going back to the same well or the same trough when it's never proven to be different? Why would this next time be different? It won't be. You know,
yeah,
you've been showing true colors. You know what they say, or the expression that when someone shows you who they are, let them and stop trying to get them to be somebody else, to do something different, to have a come to Jesus moment, right? Well, I think I would love that to have happened in my case, and but there's no logical reason for me to ever expect that it would, based
yeah,
on that.
and that's the other thing. I have been over backward. I have thought things were gonna be different. I can't even tell you how many times, and it never was. I'm not sacrificing myself for her anymore
Yeah,
like that. I'm just not doing it.
and
Not
that's
anymore. I'm not
yeah, I hear
doing it.
you. Yeah, let's clarify for people who are watching or listening because on the surface, you know, what I appreciate what you said there because you're not doing it for yourself, you won't do it for your daughter. And that's where those outside voices, or sometimes even within the alienation space, can state, well, you're giving up on your daughter. You're not fighting for her anymore. And that's not true.
No.
So, I just want to unpack that just for a second because, people have said the same thing to me. Like, my son lives across the country from me now. I've had people say, why don't you just get on a fucking plane, Natalie, and go and ring his doorbell? These are some of my closest friends. These are not just random people. These are
Mhm.
people who have been with me for years.
Sure.
Well, it's a lot more complicated than that. If it were that simple, I would have done it already, by the way. But for his own protection, it would not make sense for me to just show up and throw him into the middle of something really, really bad. Sometimes protecting our children means stepping away. And I'm going to just shout out louder for people in the back. That does not make anybody a bad parent. And no, I'm not justifying just for Holly and myself because this is something that we have done. This is true. Our children are in the middle of it. And there comes a point where we need to, and I say need, that you people need to make a decision as parents what you choose to pursue. Pursuing avenues just puts the kids back in the middle, and there will come a time in your case where you feel you're knocking your head against the wall. Take a look
Mhm.
at that. Decide what you need to do. because it's not going to get better. Not right now. There's wisdom, there is grace in stepping back. Stepping back doesn't mean stepping away. There's difference. Stepping back doesn't mean stepping away to go live in a commune in South America and just live your life and forget all this stuff. And when they're old enough, they'll come back to us. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about taking the conflict out. And the only thing that we can control is ourselves. So the only way we can mitigate a conflict is to sometimes, often, step back and observe from afar and do whatever we can with that data. And sometimes we don't get data for years, which is hard. It sucks. Can't move back. It sucks. And yet I don't, for my own case, I don't regret not getting on that plane and knocking on the door because I know what it would have led to. For him, for me, for our daughter, none of it was good. Sometimes letting the narcissist sleeping their lie, so to speak, is the best way you can protect yourself and your kid or your children. But that's not a popular opinion. I know it's not a popular opinion. I've had comments on it before. So that's a true opinion. And always it's my opinion, right? I'm speaking from my own experience. I'm speaking from experience with people that I work with, but by no means take it on as de facto for you. You need to do what you need to do for you and for your situation. We're here to tell you about ours and our opinions and experiences only.
I had to walk away from mine, and that was probably the hardest decision I had to make. But I was shoved into that corner because that was I didn't know what was going on. Like I didn't know what was happening. And by the time I realized what was happening, it was too late.
Yeah,
I
everything for
so
all your parents.
yeah, and so I didn't have time to even come up for air. So and in order to not harm my daughter any further for her mental health, I had to just back away because otherwise he wasn't going to stop. He would have kept going. He just would have not stopped. And I
Mhm.
mean, she was just being tossed from person to she's already been with 4 women. His goal is just for me not to just as long as she's not with her mother, she can be with anybody else
Mhm.
except her mother,
Yep.
period. As long as she's not with her mother, by God, she's going to be with whoever else, just as long as it's not her mother. So it's just best for me not to. And that's why I said, when I when the communication was there and supposedly open, I said, well, in order for me to have a healthy relationship with her, it's just going to be me and her.
Mhm.
You're you're to stay out of it. You have your relationship with her. I'm not involved. I have my relationship with her. You're not involved. But he
Yeah.
couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it never ends well. I mean, it's not that's just always what happens, and I'm not willing to go that way anymore. And I'm not
Yeah.
willing to use her like I've said before, I'm not willing to use her as a pawn.
I got you.
But I do want to say a couple of things. Decision fatigue can look like brain fog, forgetting things, losing your train of thought, being unable to focus, emotional numbness, crying over something small, snapping at your kids, snapping at yourself, snapping at somebody else, procrastinating, shutting down, avoiding your phone, avoiding emails, avoiding anything that requires thought. And it
Mhm.
can also look like impulsive decisions too.
100%.
And sometimes decision fatigue can make you choose quickly, not because it's the best decision, but because you want the stress to stop and because you're tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Makes
just
sense.
want to make a decision. I've been
Yeah. You just
there.
want to get that.
And you just want the monkey off your back.
You want peace. You
Exactly.
want some semblance of peace. You
Right.
just want to be out of it. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And then later on you're going, why did I do that?
Oh,
Why did I decide that?
yeah. Oh, yeah. That will
But
come.
you have to that's it's just where we are.
Yeah. And part of
So
it's just understanding what it is, giving it a name and understanding that this is part of alienation and high conflict, unfortunately. So when you
right.
can know it and you can name it, you can have a little less control over you. Not that it doesn't happen. It just means that you know what it is a little better and you can maybe navigate it a little differently or or work through it a little differently than having it just purely control you.
Yeah. So, do we want to move on to a little self love stuff now that
Yeah.
we're.
Yeah. Now we said all that heavy stuff. Let's talk about
Let's make a decision and move on to self.
look at us making a decision. We're shining beacons of what to do. We made a decision, we're sticking with it.
Okay. I think that's a good decision.
I think it's a great decision. Yeah. So
Okay.
self-care is not a term that I even particularly like because it gets so overused. Self-care it can be things like yoga, doing a fast, learning to run. There's lots of things. Certainly around January 1st, you'll see all the things for self-care. Self-improvement is often married into self-care, and that's not what's needed in alienation and high conflict. Self-love, self-care generally looks really subtle, and often it looks like giving yourself a break. Self-talk, not gaslighting yourself, not putting, the weight of the world on your shoulders. Sometimes it is going for a walk, screaming into a pillow, crying, going for a long drive, any of those things that you want to do. But self care and alienation is as simple as not letting everything be urgent. I know I said this earlier, and I feel like it is valid here as well. It's being able to say, if I take an hour today, half an hour, let's say go big, half an hour today to go for a walk, to watch something on TV, to clean my kitchen, to I don't know what, scroll, I don't care, and recognize that for that half hour, me taking that half hour is not going to destroy my case. It is not going to make my relationship with my alienated child any worse or better. The world is not going to collapse if I take this time. And we can start doing that for yourself and proving that it's true. I started out with 10 minutes when I started doing this, and 10 minutes set a timer. And nothing changed. Those 10 minutes, nothing changed except for something that was good for me. And in alienation high conflict, we're constantly told that we are horrible, we're selfish, we're narcissists, we're all about us. And our self care can really be difficult because wouldn't that, if I go and take care of myself, like let's say I start going for a run every day, wouldn't that just prove the point that I'm self serving? I'm a narcissist because I'm doing this for myself and not working 24/7 for my child, my case. I mean, if that happens, let them. You're allowed to take care of yourself. You have permission and you need to give yourself permission to do it. Because there's nothing, I can guarantee you, unless you're deciding to go for a run and not show up in court, that's different. But I can guarantee you an hour, 2 hours, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, we start really small, is not going to wreck your case, is not going to solve anything. You're not going to miss out on the one phone call that's going to change everything because there's not going to be one phone call that's going to change everything. So you can take the time for yourself, and we have voicemail and texting. So even if that call came, you could check it later. So do whatever you want to do, but try to build in a self-care contingency here. A 10-minute thing, a 15-minute thing to start. And it can be really uncomfortable, like really hard. You wouldn't think so. You wouldn't think like, hey, I'm deciding I'm gonna go for a walk for 10 minutes. It can go right back into decision fatigue. Okay, I'm gonna go for a walk for 10 minutes. What running shoes am I gonna wear? Oh my gosh, I'm wearing my pajama pants. My hair isn't done. These are all real for me, actually. This is very real when I started walking. What shoes am I gonna wear? Oh my God, is it raining? Is it not raining? Should I eat something before I go? I started to literally, it didn't matter what I was wearing. It didn't, like I was wearing like slippers, some crazy pajama pants, and a hoodie that had avocados on it in the rain, no umbrella. And I just forced myself to shut my mouth off and just walk, make my legs move out of
Yeah.
the house, make myself walk up that driveway. And I just made myself walk. I stepped out of my conscious mind. I shut down the decision fatigue and said, my only goal here is to walk. How do I walk? I walk with my 2 feet. Okay, that's all I got to do. 1 foot literally in front of the other. And what would happen is after 5 minutes, my conscious mind would come back and it's like, oh, hey, I kind of like this. I start to notice things around me. Getting to do it, I'm like, I'm blind. Like you can tell me like which direction I went and I just went. But then I start to notice things outside. It's cold, it's wet, but I'm walking. Okay, I'm going to keep walking. Maybe I can do this for like 2 more minutes. Maybe I can just go one more block. Or I can't. And I decide that's enough and I come home, and that's a great decision too. But doing these actions of self-love and self-care will not always be easy, and they can bring in that decision fatigue. And that's why I say to shut it down. You're going to walk, just go walk. Nobody cares how you look, to be honest with you. We're used to being under the microscope. We're so used to everybody and everything like watching us. Everyone out there is not watching you. Yeah, if you're the crazy person with an avocado hoodie on, so be it. So be it. Maybe I just made their day. I don't really care because I got out and I did something that I committed to myself to do that was for me, by me, and only about me. And we need that. We need that time. We need those moments. We need opportunity to do just something for us. And that can be a bubble bath. That can be a walk. That can be reading a book. I mean, it can be anything, really. As long as the intention is just for you and about you, and recognizing that it will actually benefit your case because you're going to be more clear headed, you're going to be a little more grounded, and that can also mitigate some of the decision fatigue. But you have to push yourself to do it first, which is why you're not doing it yet. So here's your push. I gently push you towards going and doing that for 10 minutes. I know
Yeah,
you can do it.
and you can also regulate yourself
Yes, that helps
by
with regulate. Absolutely.
you can also regulate yourself for it just if you do it for just like 60 seconds,
Yep.
you can just like put some cold water on your face. You can just step outside, you can at least just step outside. You can
Yep.
breathe like slow, breathe in and out slow. You can put your hand on your chest. You can name 5 things that you can see. No, you can unclench your jaw. You can roll your shoulders. You can, wiggle your fingers and your toes, that type of thing. That one really helped me because I didn't realize how like dysregulated I was with my fingers
Yeah.
and my toes. But there are things like that that will help regulate you to come back to the present, which are basically part of the 5 senses. Um, touch, smell, sight, scent, taste, all that stuff.
Yeah,
And
none of this has to be big. None of this has to be a massive effort. It can be as easy as breathing in and out, noticing your breath, hand on your chest. It can be box breathing. You can look up. You look up like Google regulation techniques like Holly's talking about the 5 senses. I like to play the rainbow game, colors of the rainbow. I have to name something that I see that's each color of the rainbow, and then I do it again and
yeah,
again if I can. One of the things I keep on my desk around at all times are little child, even from the dollar store thing of bubbles. So I love to blow bubbles because I have to focus and I end up getting focused on like, I want to blow the bubble and I have to breathe and I have to breathe out.
right,
And then I get a result and I watch the bubble float away.
right.
And I find like that's one of my favorite regulation things. Yeah, I have it at my desk to work and I've looked at it before. Yeah. I'm blowing bubbles and people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, I was having a moment and I was stressed. They're like, okay. And they walk on. I'm like, I don't care what you think. Calm me down. I'm grounded again. Yeah.
And there's another one where you can, if you have a candle, you can meditate and just focus on the candle flame. And that's a good one too. At least for me, you used to do that one too. Just focus on the candle flame. And there's an app, and I don't. This is no promotion for this app, but I use the Insight Timer app
Mm,
all the time. It's got like thousands of meditations on there. Meditations, prayers, affirmations, music, guided meditations. And I try to use it 3 times a day,
mm,
but
well done.
I love that app. So there's so many things out there you can use.
There are. And don't let the word meditation scare you. I know that it did for me. And I'll be honest, meditation for me has to be active meditation, usually through movements. Sitting and meditating so far from me does not work. And if it does for someone, like Holly, amazing. If it doesn't, there's meditation takes on many forms. So don't get caught up in what we think of meditation of, which is awesome. It can also be movement based. Yeah, there's a lot of different things. So don't meditation is really about focusing the mind and calming and quieting the mind. So whatever ways you can do that, like Insight app, the Calm app, Google it. I mean, you'll find YouTube's. Go on TikTok.
Yeah.
Realign your algorithm with all the things that you can do to regulate and meditate and clear your mind has the capability the mind actually likes it and the body will follow what the mind tells it to do. So we can calm our brain, calm the chemical components that are surging through us, get some new neural pathways going that we lean into calm before we lean into fight or flight. It actually can be really like life changing.
Yeah.
I know it sounds a bit can sound a little bit woo when I say it, but I can attest to it. I think Holly can too. That's actually a thing. You
Yeah.
can teach yourself, teach your body and your mind to lean into calm first. But it's like building a muscle, right? If you haven't done it before, it's like working out. You know, it could be a little sore, it could be a little bit frustrating, but you keep being consistent, showing up for yourself in that way, it will come. And let me tell you, then you'll really piss off the other side. You stay calm and rational and grounded, and you grow as a human. It's going to benefit your case, benefit your kids. And yeah, the other side doesn't like it very much when they can't get to you. So I view that as a bonus. It's not my intention, but it's a good bonus.
Yeah. Well, okay, Nat. So do we have anything that we're talking about in the future, or what what's the scoop? Are
We
we
haven't
gonna
come to any well, look, we all know I can talk. So yes, we will have stuff in the future. And
well,
like anybody
we both can talk, so we
yeah, that's why
already
we're here. For future
we're gonna be
episodes,
talking tomorrow anyway, so
yes, I know. It's not like I won't talk to you anytime soon. People put stuff in the comments if there's stuff that you want us to kind of tackle and talk about. Because yeah, I mean, there's tons. I mean, I can talk. We can talk about judicial process, and I know that sounds fun, but kind of demystifying it. It's fun for me. I like it. Okay,
I
I
know
like.
I know you do, and you're good at it, actually.
Yeah, so
So,
I don't mind talking about it because I like to also demystify some stuff. Like, there's a lot of
well, you decided to throw yourself into that one, so
well, and here I am, happy to talk about it.
you decided to throw yourself in the fire on that one.
I know,
Go ahead.
I know. I look and I just swan dive into the next topic. I know. I'm glutton for punishment that way. But yes, I do love learning about and talking about that kind of stuff. So we can talk
But
about
yeah, no. I mean,
tons, tons about the law. We can talk about family court law in particular. We can talk about um survival techniques. I mean, we can talk about everything and anything. I mean, that's, figuring out how to manage your life, how to survive this, how to practically like do some practical things we can do. Um, yeah, just stay tuned
all
because
right.
it's only February, so we got a long way to go in the year. So
Yes, we
lots of
do.
topics to definitely tackle. But for anybody who's watching and listening, give us comments
That's
because if
right.
there's something we're interested in and we can talk about, I love that to speak to something that somebody wants to talk about.
Yeah, I would like some viewer engagement myself. So,
Yeah, me too.
we'll have to
That's what I value the most is like we can talk about anything, Holly, and we sure can.
yeah,
But there's probably, angles and things that people could write about and be like, well, what about this? And be like, oh, yeah, okay. Hadn't
I
thought of
know.
it that way, but let's talk about it.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. Yeah.
Well, okay, Nat, thank you so much for joining me and putting up with my crap before we started the episode.
You put up with mine all the time, so it is quid pro quo. It is fine. Of
Okay, well, thank you.
course.
Anyway, anyway, thank you guys for joining us today and hope it helped. And listen,
Mhm.
have a very happy Valentine's Day and love to you all. And listen, give yourself a lot of self care.
Mhm.
Take care of yourself and stay tuned for the next episode. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. See you soon. Bye for now.
Bye.